Do the Buffalo Bills have a chance to win any major NFL awards in 2024? There are several strong candidates, and I'm going to explore those possibilities today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, folks, welcome in. Let's have a fun conversation here on a Friday and consider the major NFL awards and which candidates from the Buffalo Bills have a chance to claim that award. And every year I've done this discussion about this time of year, and there's always a couple of people that say, Joe, the only trophy I care about is the Lombardi trophy. The only award I care about is winning the Super Bowl. Okay, cool. Yeah, me too. I care a lot about that. But let's put our hair down a little bit, have some fun here on a Friday, and consider NFL MVP and Coach of the Year and Rookie of the Year and Offensive Player of the Year and all the awards, and talk about where the Bills players and coaches fall into this conversation. All right, we all know the main thing is winning the Super Bowl. Got it. Cool. Would prefer that over any of these awards. But it's still fun to consider where the Bills fall and what those possibilities are. So that's what we're doing here today. Let's start with NFL MVP. Is this the year for Josh Allen? The last time a Bills player was the NFL MVP, Thurman Thomas in 1991. Then you have to go back to O.J. Simpson in 1973. Last year, Lamar Jackson won the NFL MVP award. And at this time of the year, Lamar Jackson was not even among the top 5 in terms of highest odds to be the NFL MVP. Here's how FanDuel has it right now. Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes at plus 500. Then it's Josh Allen, number 2 at plus 800. C.J. Stroud, Joe Burrow at plus 1,000. And then Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, and Jalen Hurts all at plus 1,400. So why could this happen? Why could this be the year that Josh Allen is the NFL MVP? Well, I think that starts with Josh Allen and who he is as a player. Like, he's a special talent that's going to be highly productive, that's going to probably be in this conversation every single year of his career. The guy scores touchdowns at a higher rate than anybody else in the NFL and has for a long time, like a historic touchdown scoring rate. So, of course, that puts him in this conversation. And I'm pretty excited to see Josh Allen this year, because I think there's been a lot of continuity around him for the last 4 years, whether it's top receivers, coaching in terms of it being Brian Daboll to Ken Dorsey, where you feel like they were pretty similar with their approaches. But there's a lot of different things happening with this Bills offense right now, whether that's Joe Brady and this power spread offense that he's going to deploy, the idea of sharing the ball on offense where, I don't think the Bills are going to have a Steph Diggs 150 target guy. And so what does that mean for Josh Allen's production? Does he become a more efficient player? Is he a more productive player? Is there a freedom that he gets in running this offense where he's not concerned about Stephon Diggs getting his production and he can just do the smart right thing with the football? I'm fascinated to find out. I think Josh Allen's going to be very productive. But does his production look different this year? We'll see. But obviously, a strong candidate, number 2 in terms of likelihood, according to FanDuel here and the odds that they have. And so, of course, I think Josh Allen has a reasonable path to do this. But why am I skeptical? And I'm going to answer that question for every one of these awards. Well, the reason I'd be skeptical about Josh Allen being the NFL MVP is that the competition's really good and the expectations are high. Everybody expects Josh Allen to be very productive and be the quarterback for a very good team. And you've got other guys. Patrick Mahomes, of course. CJ Stroud looks like he's ready to light the league on fire. Joe Burrow is back, and we'll see what he can do. Lamar Jackson's won it 2 of the last, 3 years. Jordan Love looked like he's going to be a big-time productive guy in Green Bay. So, yeah, there's really good competition. But I think what it comes down to for this award, as we learned last year, is that it's probably going to be the quarterback on the team that has the best regular season. That's what happened with Lamar Jackson. Statistically, Lamar Jackson probably the least impressive NFL MVP I've seen in a long time. But the Ravens were the number 1 seed in the AFC. Lamar Jackson had a good year, and he's the NFL MVP. Didn't matter that Josh Allen scored all the touchdowns and had way more production. So will the Bills be the team that has the best regular season? Can the Bills be a 14-win team or something like that? I think Josh Allen's typical production plus 14 wins probably gets him the MVP. But if it's just normal production for Josh Allen and the Bills win 11 games, I don't know if that's going to move the needle, especially if one of these other guys has a big year and their team, is able to have more production. One thing you should keep in mind with all of these awards is that they are regular season awards. The playoffs do not factor into any of this. The awards are voted on before the playoffs begin. So these are regular season awards. Always keep that in mind. So I think Josh Allen, when you look at all of these awards that I'm going to get into today, of course, NFL MVP is the most important. It's also the award where I think the Bills have the best opportunity to have somebody to claim it. Let's move on to the Coach of the Year. The last time the Bills had the Coach of the Year was 1980. Chuck Knox was the Coach of the Year in 1980. Last year, the winner of the award was Kevin Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, they played 15 different quarterbacks. I know it wasn't 15, but it was 5 or 6. Still had a good season. Double-digit wins, goes to the postseason. They don't have Nick Chubb, who's their star running back for a good portion of the year. And so Kevin Stefanski, who was not in the top 5 at this point last year, won the award. So here's how FanDuel has it stacked up right now. Number 1 is Raheem Morris at plus 1,000. He's tied with Matt Eberflus at plus 1,000. So the Falcons and the Bears coaches, the most likely according to FanDuel. And then you have this group of DeMeco Ryans, Jonathan Gannon, Shane Steichen, Jim Harbaugh at plus 1,400. So DeMeco Ryans with the Texans, Jonathan Gannon with the Cardinals, Shane Steichen with the Colts, and Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. Sean McDermott comes in at plus 4,000. That's 21st among the 32 head coaches. Andy Reid is plus 6,000, and that's 32. That's dead last. So as you can kind of see the distribution here of the coaches in terms of where FanDuel has it, it's teams that were okay last year that you feel like could really take a step. Usually this award, and this is kind of getting into why I'm skeptical that Sean McDermott could win it this year. This award typically goes to the coach whose team exceeds preseason expectations or deals with a bunch of issues and still comes out as a playoff team. Hello, Kevin Stefanski last year. Look, going back 2 years, Brian Daboll won this award in 2022 because nobody expected a thing out of the Giants, and they wind up going to the postseason. Mike Vrabel in 2021, they lose Derrick Henry, and they wind up having a really good year despite that. And so what's challenging about this for Sean McDermott is that expectations are always high for the Bills. And if the Bills go 12-5 and win the AFC East, that probably doesn't move the needle enough because that's what people expect the Bills to do. And right now, the Bills over-under for projected wins, according to FanDuel, is at 10.5. That's the second most, or the second highest amount of wins that they're setting the over-under for of any team in the NFL. So just meeting expectations, even if they're high, doesn't really get you this award. You could see why Raheem Morris, as the head coach of the Falcons, playing the softest schedule in the NFL, with Kirk Cousins coming in and the improvements that they made, all of a sudden this goes from a team that couldn't get out of its own way with Arthur Smith, and now they win 11 games. They go to the postseason, and it's everybody's loving what Atlanta's doing. Or look at Matt Eberflus and how bad the Bears have been the last few years to start his tenure. And now they get Caleb Williams and bring in Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze and all the influx of talent they've had, and all of a sudden they win 10 or 11 games. That's the stuff that moves the needle on this award. I don't think the Bills going out and even if they win the AFC East for a fifth straight time and win 11 or 12 games, I don't know that's going to be enough. I think that the Bills will have to win 13, 14 games, be clearly the best team in the AFC, and maybe have to deal with some adversity that was unexpected along the way for Sean McDermott to get this award. Now, why could it happen? Well, I think Sean McDermott's had cases to win it in the past, 2017, 2020. I thought he had a case to do it. Even the 2022 season, I thought he had a reasonable case. And the Bills could do the thing I just said. The Bills could go win 14 or 15 games. And if they are the clear best team in the league and you don't have this darling story somewhere else, it's totally possible. So NFL MVP, Coach of the Year, we've discussed those two. Coming up on the other side of it, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Bills got a couple of candidates here with Keon Coleman and Cole Bishop. We're going to explore those possibilities on the other side of it, so be sure to stick with me. It's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. And let me tell you, folks, I had some fun on FanDuel yesterday. I was watching the PGA Championship, and I was doing some live betting on golf and watching Scotty Scheffler and, if he was going to hit the green on the second shot or he was going to hit the fairway on the tee shot. And I was having a lot of fun with that live betting. And then I also got in on the action for the Timberwolves and Nuggets where, the T-Wolves beat them by 45 points, but there were some fun player props for Djokovic that I tried. I actually didn't win that one, but I did pretty good on the golf. So check it out. Have some fun over there at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's talk about these Rookie of the Year possibilities. The Bills' top two picks, a wide receiver and a safety. So let's explore these possibilities. First, we'll do Offensive Rookie of the Year. The last time a Bills player won this award, 1970. That's the only time it's ever happened. 1970, Dennis Shaw won the award, and then he wound up to go on and not have a very good career, but he was the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1970. Last year, the Offensive Rookie of the Year, C.J. Stroud, the quarterback for the Houston Texans. And at this point in the season, C.J. Stroud was third highest odds, and he winds up winning it. This year, the way FanDuel has it stacked up is Caleb Williams, #1 at +170. Jaden Daniels, #2 at +600. Marvin Harrison Jr., #3 at +700. And then Malik Neighbors with the Giants and J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings, +1,400. Those are your top five. Where does Keon Coleman come in? They have him at +2,500, which is 9th highest in the NFL. So top 10 in terms of likelihood. So why could this happen? Why could Keon Coleman be the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2024? Well, I think the opportunity is massive for him. He's playing with an elite quarterback on an offense that needs wide receiver production, on an offense that just lost their two top receivers, I guess, over the last 3 years, really, or 4 years, in Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So there's targets to be gobbled up in this offense, and you're doing so with an elite quarterback. So I think it's very clear the opportunity that exists for Keon Coleman, if he can seize it, he can be really productive. And of course, that's how you win the award. You have good stats. And when you look at Offensive Rookie of the Year, wide receivers do win this award. I think some of these position groups will actually, the next one with Cole Bishop being a safety, I think that makes it very challenging for him. But as a wide receiver, I think that really helps Keon Coleman have a strong case to do it. A wide receiver has won this award 2 of the last 3 years. Of course, C.J. Stroud last year. But Garrett Wilson the year before that, Jamar Chase the year before that. So all of that leads to a pretty decent chance. I mean, top 10 in terms of odds on FanDuel for Keon Coleman right now. Now, why would I be skeptical about this? Well, the competition is insanely good. Insanely good. 10 of the first 13 picks in the draft were offensive skill players. 10 of the first 13. Keon Coleman, as the 33rd pick in the draft, was the 15th offensive skill player selected. I mean, basically half of the picks from 1 to 33 were offensive skill players. So you have premium draft picks going on or being invested on skill players. There's just a lot of competition. And so outside of the competition, the other thing I'm mindful of is the development that Keon Coleman needs to have in terms of route running and separation skills. And he's part of this offense that has a lot of new pieces to develop chemistry with Josh Allen. And how does the ball get distributed? I mean, of course, you have some returning players in Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir and Dawson Knox and James Cook, but then that's about it. I mean, Josh Allen's got to get on the same page with Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel. And whatever mix of receivers actually makes the team with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think he's going to make it. Ray Davis, right? There's just a lot of pieces for Josh Allen to get it going with. So how does that take off with Keon Coleman? You'd think as a top pick the Bills had in this draft that they're going to prioritize that, but you just never know how it takes off. So that and the competition being really, really stiff leads to the skepticism that I might have about Keon Coleman winning this award. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, Shane Conlon in 1987, the last time a Bills player won this award. Jim Haslett also won it in 1979. That's the complete history of the Bills and Defensive Rookie of the Year. I maintain, and I will take this to my grave, Trey White was robbed in 2017. Are you kidding me? That was clearly the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Had a better year than Marshawn Lattimore, but Lattimore got it. Last year, Will Anderson from the Houston Texans won this award. And at this point last year, Will Anderson had the highest odds to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. The way it's stacked up right now, according to FanDuel, number 1 is Dallas Turner with the Vikings at plus 430. Leatu Latu with the Colts is plus 500. Jared Verse with the Rams, number 3 at plus 1,200. Have a tie for number 4 in Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold. Mitchell a corner for the Eagles, Arnold the corner for the Lions. They're plus 1,200. Then Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle with the Seahawks, is plus 1,400. I was very surprised where Cole Bishop fell in terms of these odds. They have him plus 10,000, 37th. That's kind of surprising to me. I think he should have been higher on the list. So why could it happen? And why am I skeptical? I think the reason it could happen is that if Cole Bishop winds up starting for this team, there's going to be a great opportunity for him to be productive. And production on a good defense is going to help him win this award. And I do think that he has the athleticism and the consistency of being around the football that's going to lead to splash plays. He's a very good blitzer, can shoot gaps, get tackles for loss, get sacks, has the speed to be around the football, has the instincts to be around the football. You know, how much ball production can he get? I think that's going to be important. But the athleticism and the opportunity and the urgency that he plays with should lead to production on a good defense. Now, why am I skeptical? Well, I think, first of all, I'm not entirely sure what Cole Bishop's year one role will be. Will the Bills play Cole Bishop over Mike Edwards or over Taylor Rapp? We got to find out. And the more we hear from Micah Hyde and about Micah Hyde, the more you feel like, yeah, maybe this guy's going to play. And he said yesterday at his press conference about the charity softball event that he's either playing for the Bills or he's retiring. And I feel like the longer that this goes on, the more likely it is that Micah Hyde plays. Now, do the Bills want him? Who knows? They've certainly built the roster to live life without Micah Hyde, but it doesn't feel like it's been dismissed. And I think it's complicated right now with Mike Edwards and Taylor Rapp. Now you add Micah Hyde into the mix and you're like, man, I don't know if Cole Bishop's going to play. So I do think there's a path for him to play, but who knows? You could see him winning over the staff, though. I mean, seems like one of the humble and hungry guys. You could tell they really wanted him in the draft based on what they've said, based on the video that came out from the draft room. We know that they tried to trade up for him. We learned that through the Jets YouTube video series where they were trying to trade up and they said, so is Buffalo. So I could see him starting and having a lot of production, but also I can find the path for that not being the case in year one. Then I think probably as much of a complicating factor in Cole Bishop's case as, what opportunity exists for him in 2024 is that safeties just don't win this award. This is a pass rusher award. Pass rushers have won Defensive Rookie of the Year for the last 5 years. A safety hasn't won this award since Mark Carrier in 1990. So maybe I should have been more mindful of that when I was like, man, is Cole Bishop really plus 10,000, 37th best odds? Well, considering a safety hasn't won it since 1990, and you've seen some great safeties come along the way since then, and Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu, Bob Sanders, so many great safeties. Eric Berry. Those guys couldn't do it. I mean, why would I think that Cole Bishop's going to be the first one since 1990? I think that's where it becomes complicating. So maybe on Keon Coleman, on Cole Bishop. All right, let's talk comeback player of the year, defensive player of the year, and offensive player of the year on the other side of it. Be sure to stick with me. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that huge win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. All right, let's talk comeback player of the year. I know this is a touchy subject because I'll never understand why Damar Hamlin didn't win that award last year. I'll never understand it. Doug Flutie, the last Bills player to win this award in 1998. Last year, Joe Flacco won the award. Unfathomable to me that Damar Hamlin had the most rare and unlikely comeback in the history of football. And Joe Flacco got this award. I will never understand it. Damar Hamlin at this point last year was minus 250 to win this award. The next highest was Lamar Jackson at plus 1,800. The narrative was if Damar Hamlin makes the team, he's a shoo-in for comeback player of the year. And then Joe Flacco throws up a bunch of YOLO balls. And the Browns play good defense and run the ball. And they get to the postseason and they give it to him for playing like 5 games? Insane. Absolutely insane. All right, so let's look at this year. It's going to be tough for the Bills to get this award. The leader in the clubhouse is Aaron Rodgers, who has even odds right now. Joe Burrow at plus 200. Kirk Cousins at plus 500. Anthony Richardson plus 750. Russell Wilson plus 1,200. This is who FanDuel has as the most likely Bills to get the award. Mitch Trubisky, they have the highest at 39th. plus 12,000. Matt Milano is 44th at plus 1,500. Von Miller was not among the 55 players listed. And I kind of think that Von Miller might have the best chance if you're really looking at this. So why could it happen? Well, we know that Matt Milano can produce splash plays. We know that Von Miller can produce splash plays. Mitch Trubisky would be very crazy to me for him to win this award. You're talking Josh Allen being injured and Mitch Trubisky coming in and playing at an extremely high level. And that gets me right into the skeptical part of it. Whether it's Trubisky, Milano, Von Miller, those guys could have great seasons. But there are just too many quarterbacks in the conversation this year. Rodgers, who played, 4 plays? If that guy has a reasonably good year, they're going to give it to him. Joe Burrow and the wrist thing and all the time he missed. Kirk Cousins and the Achilles. Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson. I don't see a world where the Bills touch this award. Especially when your most likely candidates are Trubisky, Milano, and Von Miller. Let's get to Defensive Player of the Year. The Bills last won this award in 96. Bruce Smith won it. 95, Bryce Paup won it. 1990, Bruce Smith won it. So the Bills had a 6-year stretch there where they won it 3 times. Last year, Myles Garrett, your Defensive Player of the Year, had the second best odds at this point last year. FanDuel currently has it number 1, Micah Parsons at plus 600. Myles Garrett. Number 2 at plus 700, TJ Watt. Number 3, tied with Nick Bosa for plus 800. Those are the exact same 4 that were the top 4 last year at this point in time. Parsons, Garrett, TJ Watt, Bosa in that order. Then they have Max Crosby, number 5 at plus 1,000. So where do the Bills players fall into this? Greg Rousseau is plus 15,000 at 41st. Ed Oliver and Matt Milano are plus 20,000. That's 66. And Von Miller is plus 25,000 at 92nd. So why could it happen? Well, you got to like the trajectory of Ed Oliver. Had a big productive season last year. Could he take another step and have a bunch of big-time production and win the award? I think that's your case there. Greg Rousseau, who actually has the best odds, according to FanDuel, for the Bills. You could see him taking a leap as a young player still that's young to playing the position, and the flashes have been really good. We saw him, get some interceptions, and he's got a ton of length, and he plays the run really well. If he could take a big-time step as a pass rusher, could he be productive enough to win it? Matt Milano is a monster as a player. We know that what he's capable of. And then, Von Miller's on this list, and he's a future Hall of Famer for a reason. So those would be the reasons why the Bills could get the award. Why am I skeptical? It's hard to really look at any of the players that I just mentioned and feel like they're going to outproduce Myles Garrett or TJ Watt or Nick Bosa or Max Crosby or Micah Parsons or Aiden Hutchinson, all these outstanding defensive players that get crazy production. I mean, how much more can we get out of Ed Oliver? Is there that much more to unlock where he's going to have Aaron Donald type production to win this award? Is Greg Rousseau ever really going to be a monster sack guy? If you feel like, and I've always kind of felt this way. I thought the best case scenario for Greg Rousseau is a Calais Campbell type player. And I think Calais Campbell maybe had double-digit sacks twice in his career. He only got Defensive Player of the Year votes one time, and it was a year that he had 14.5 sacks. He was number 2. So unless it's a career year like that, I don't see that happening. And then for Matt Milano, an off-ball linebacker has not been the Defensive Player of the Year since Luke Kuechly in 2013. You have to go back to 2005, Brian Urlacher, to find it for the second most recent time. So twice since 2005, including 2005 and 2013 as an off-ball linebacker won the award. It's been a defensive lineman 9 of the last 10 years. The exception being Stephon Gilmore in 2019. And if you think Von Miller has a chance here, it's hard to imagine Von Miller at 35 years old, based on the way he looked last year, to produce at a higher rate than these guys that I just mentioned. The last one is Offensive Player of the Year. The Bills won this in 1991, Thurman Thomas, 1973, O.J. Simpson, Last year, Christian McCaffrey won the award, had the 5th best odds at this point last year. Currently, FanDuel has it stacked up like this: Tyreek Hill plus 700 at number 1, Christian McCaffrey plus 900 at number 2, CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson tied for 3rd at plus 1,000, and Jamar Chase at plus 1,200 at number 5. They have Josh Allen 15th at plus 4,500. They have James Cook at plus 8,000, which is 32nd. Why could it happen? Well, Josh Allen could have crazy stats, right? And it maybe be a consolation for not getting MVP if something like that happens. Why could it happen for James Cook? Well, the volume's going to be there. He had 281 touches last year. That's the 10th most in the NFL. So that opportunity is pretty obvious to me. Now, why am I skeptical? For Josh Allen, I think this has become a non-quarterback award. A running back or a wide receiver has won it each of the last 5 years. And so I think the way that the voters have attacked these awards is that the MVP is the best quarterback award, and then the offensive player of the year is the best non-quarterback award. That's the way I think that they've kind of defined it with their actions over the last several years. And then for James Cook, I just get concerned about the touchdown production. He's got to score more touchdowns. And the short yardage opportunities aren't really there for them. It's not his strength. And then you have Josh Allen, who gets a ton of, short yardage touchdowns, and now they have Ray Davis as well. So I think the volume of touches might be there, but will he score enough touchdowns? That's what it's going to come down to. And I don't know that he will. So there you have it. A look at the major NFL awards, the last time a Bills player won them, where the Bills currently slot in terms of betting odds, why it could happen, and why I have skepticism about it happening. Hope you enjoyed this Friday conversation. I am fired up for next week. Next week, we do something I've done now 4 years in a row, where I have a panel, and we vote on the 10 most important players to the future of the Buffalo Bills. So we are collaborating on that. You'll get our full list next week, and you'll get, just like I've done it for the last 3 years. This is the 4th year of doing it, where the panel joins me as part of the conversation, and we unveil the list, and then we do a bunch of follow-up commentary. Then I'll have my own show where it's just me giving my thoughts on the project. So that's going to be a big part of what we do next week to start the week. I can't wait for it. Can't wait for you to see it. It's pretty much done. I just got to tie it all together and publish it for you guys. So you have that to look forward to coming up. Don't miss it. Make sure that you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.